Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, let's talk about the all-important trance states. But let's clarify the trance states that bring empowerment to you and you're able to function. So what I like to do is rename awareness trance states. You have to be in an awareness. You can't be completely out of it because then it goes into the fantasy realm, which has little or no value to you. So trances are about awareness trance, meaning you are still connected to the world that you're trying to manipulate and control, or bring information from another place to this place. But it has to be applicable. It has to have a reason for that. So this is the problem with so many, and of course the problem with hallucinogens or drugs in general when you're using them. These are not a path of any practicality. Now, shamans have used drugs for millennium to go into quick states, but they're people that are kind of metaphysical to begin with. So when they use strong drugs, they are kind of looking at this in a very high level way and able to get certain information out of there. But these are people that take these drugs consistently and are able to handle them properly. This is rare and can't be done in modern times by most anybody. And I'm not sure that shamans are all that good at it either. So when you get too strange, what kind of information are you bringing back? Well, these shamanic practices were to go to wherever, oftentimes the underworld, talk to spirits to get practical information from, particularly in regards to healing. So it was information. It wasn't necessarily any exact information. This becomes a real problem. Now, everybody wants to party. There seems to be a great need for and a desire and a compulsion to get loaded because life is so boring. Life is either depressing or very boring. You're doing the same things over and over again that are basic necessities. And I'm just not talking about work so you can eat and survive. You got to clean your place. You got to take a shower. You got to scrub your toilet. And it just never ends. The same monotonous stuff you have to do every day. You got to sleep every day. You got to have a proper bed. You got a blanket. Here we go again. So you're caught in this mundane world of boringness all the time. And there's very little things in life that heighten this. That's why some people are very fat, is that now they're getting their little jollies out of eating all the time because, sugar, sweet, salty, or just you like the taste. So you eat lots of it. But this is a way, again, of breaking the monotony. People are addicts for religion, for sex, etc. And these are ways of breaking the monotony. And generally, they don't serve much purpose and actually hurt most of the time. But the problem is with taking any kind of strong drugs or taking too many drugs. Now, drugs are good as a disinhibitor. The reason that we have problems in life and why life is boring is because we're always inhibited. You can't do what you want. You can't run outside naked. You can't drive down the freeway at 150 miles an hour or your local road. You can't do it. You're inhibited all the time. So you're constantly filtering what you can do in life based on society and where you're at in society. Now, this is a necessity. You can't be driving down the main street at 90 miles an hour. You're going to hurt yourself or someone else, and that is not right. So we have these inhibitions that are a necessity. So you can't show up at work probably naked. I'm not sure that would work too well unless you're working at a nudist colony. So it's going to cause a distraction. There are even some cleanliness problems for you and others. So, do we really want our butts on all the chairs and everything else? Do you really want to see most of your workers naked? I don't think so. So there's a time and place for everything, but the inhibiting of all this is just mind-boggling. So if you want to do things and start thinking outside the box, controlling the toxic mind, moving it into the bioconsciousness mind, well, you have to use disinhibitors at a very controlled fashion. And that's the hardest part of it. Now, alcohol has always been a disinhibitor. People call it a depressant, whatever, but it's a depressant because it relaxes you. So I'm not sure that's a depressant. But generally, if you take an amphetamine, that's a hype. If you take a alcohol, it's a disinhibited or depressive. And of course, these things bring out how you're feeling at the time and allow you to overcome your embarrassment. You don't want to talk about this. You don't want to do that. You're not sure about yourself. So they serve a great purpose until you take too much of it. Then it makes you an idiot. And then you do dumb stuff. A lot of people, of course, using the disinhibiting factors are very, very positive and productive if you can control it. And it's something that is difficult to control because, I feel good now. I'm disinhibited. It's wonderful. I'll have 2 more drinks. Well, now you're getting stupid. And people either get kind of lovey or a lot of people get violent because they're pissed off. So, look, I'm disinhibited now, so I'm going to get nasty. Other people, they've called them beer queers. They have 4 beers and they love the world. So you have to be careful and use it in a very particular fashion. That means you have to stop and you have to combine with foods and other things. And the same thing goes with marijuana and other things. You have to learn when you have enough of that. Now, a lot of people smoke a lot of pot, and they basically, what I've seen from these people is that they feel good for 15, 20 minutes, and then they're out. They're just sleeping all the time. Well, sleeping isn't a disinhibitor. Sleeping is now you're out of it. Same thing with alcohol. If you drink so much that you can't function and have to sleep, well, you've lost the disinhibiting benefits because you're sleeping. Well, did you need alcohol to sleep? Well, not really. And you're not getting better dreams or anything else. You're probably getting worse dreams. So using disinhibitors and generally natural products, you can't get any benefits from prescription drugs. They're really mess with your entire consciousness to a very evil way. So you have to use it. But, natural drugs are very difficult as well. We all know the problems with alcohol. And, we have similar problems with marijuana that nobody wants to talk about. A lot of people smoke marijuana 24/7. We hear this from actors. We know this from Terrence McKenna, who just smoked marijuana 24/7. Actors that think it's funny and it's cute now. It was like that with alcohol. Oh, that guy's drunk. He's funny. They had comedians that specialized in being drunk in the past. In the day, Foster Brooks was one of them. And of course, it was kind of sexy, like smoking and drinking. People like Dean Martin, that was their image, who basically was not a person who drank much at all. Some say he didn't drink at all. But you drank, you smoked cigarettes, it was sexy, and you kind of acted like he's cool, he can get drunk, he's superior. Same thing with marijuana today. So people are addicted to this and will become further and further as it's legalized as anything out there because life is boring and people are looking for a quick consciousness altering out of the boring into something more interesting or at least kind of feeling good. I don't know if it's interesting, but you certainly are feeling good like eating a cookie, but it's all gone quickly. But if you're going to think on a higher plane quickly and easily, you need to generally use something like this if you're able to in a very controlled fashion. Now, once you do your centering and your exercises and other things and use your energy devices, you're going to be able to feel good most of the time, and you're going to be able to think on a higher process. But the use of certain natural drugs tends to drop your inhibiting energies to a high degree quickly if done right, where you get lots of information, even information that through being calm and collected and not upset, that's a certain level of trance, you do function better, but you're still holding up blockages. When you use drugs, you drop this and go into a high state. So a lot of things come to you. So that's why these things work so well with so many people if done correctly. But doing it correctly is very difficult. The bottom line is the human personality is to get loaded and pass out. Now, that does absolutely nothing. What further does nothing is producing fantasy illusions that you think are coming from some place other than your own brain. This is what LSD and other things. Now, LSD and ayahuasca and all these other things may be very helpful in therapies and people that have mental problems. And there's a lot of research in this area that have proven to be helpful. And it's perfectly good for that, and we should be using that. But the average person is getting nothing out of it. Once you take one of these trips the first time, there is a certain breaking with society that this achieves. I'm not entirely sure why and why it's so effective in doing that, but people who are as dumb as rocks tend to expand after that. And I've heard this 1,000 times, so there's no way to argue with it and say that's not the case. But they still end up being the same rotten, self-centered people that they've always been. The biggest scum I've ever met are people that use ayahuasca and hallucinogens. I've never seen such low-level scum as these people that I've worked with. So they're the worst of the worst. It does absolutely nothing for you. The bottom line is you may have some epiphany that may change you for hours, days, weeks, months, maybe a few years where you see things a little different. But you're still looking through the same fuzzy glasses, the same lies, the same nonsense that you have started out with. You have not changed as a person because you've seen pink elephants. You don't change from epiphanies. Epiphanies are door openings which push you in a direction to do work from your higher self if you can follow through with it. But the bottom line is you're always going to be you until you make radical changes and start seeking gnosis and understanding how to change your thinking away from your conditioned slave mind into a gnosis way of looking at the world, questioning the world, asking questions in general, questioning authority, believing nobody. These are all the things you have to do. And so you shouldn't believe the pictures that are being generated in your mind. And we know that you can see all sorts of things. We experience this in the dream world very directly. Everybody does. And it's a very distorted and bizarre picture. And it does absolutely nothing for anybody in the long run. Initially, if it helps you, well, I guess that's okay, but it hasn't really done anything for anybody. It's nothing more than mental masturbation that achieves very little in the end. So, getting into an uninhibited state where you've brought down the blockages to a certain level is extremely effective in what you have to do. That's a trance state. So you're thinking and operating differently because you've eliminated fear and doubt and other things by using an uninhibitor to a very controlled manner. Then you achieve things. And you have to repeat this. But the minute you go overboard, the minute that you do too much of this, you've lost again. And you're going to go into bizarre, perverted, warped states of consciousness. And it's going to do absolutely nothing for you. Life is a consistent one foot in front of the other every single day. And hopefully you're moving ahead because you have the proper guides and tools to do that with. Of course, that's what I offer. But ultimately, the door is open for you. You've got to walk through and you've got to continue going. Now, too many people start walking in circles in that room that has just opened up and they're getting nowhere. And they think they are, and they like the fact that they're tripping out. This is part of the human filth of the way that you think and act. So, having a trance state that is understandable and controllable, meaning the images that come to you, you understand and can apply it to your life. You think differently. Solutions to problems just pop in your head. You think of, well, this is interesting because, and you can now apply this in your life. You're not going to apply in your life some bizarre creature or other thing telling you some nonsensical information that really has no value. We've seen this through all the people who have used these hallucinogens from LSD to everything else. Terence McKenna was a boob. He learned absolutely nothing and couldn't even save his own life. He spoke basic shamanism from a very low level, and people were entranced by this because it meant there's drugs. It's the lowest common denominator. Drugs and sex, and you'll get a crowd every time. So that's the way all of it works, and we need to understand that you have to be in a controlled trance state. If you can't understand the images, or they're so bizarre that you have to spend half your time trying to figure out what they mean, they have no value. Terence McKenna wasn't given the solution to cure himself, so his entire work is valueless. He was stoned 24/7. He got no answers to any. I see elves and I work for the CIA and torture people. I've learned a lot from the spirits. You've learned nothing. And he was bolstered by and was made successful by intelligence agencies that pushed him into everything, so he had an entire career to push his nonsense. And that's what it is. He's achieved nothing. He wrote many books of the same garbage, producing nothing. So we need to understand that for everybody. So you need to be in a trance state, which brings to you understandable information that you can apply directly in the real world. Until next time.